So recently, I decided to join my first ever game jam.
It's been 2 hours already and I still don't have any idea what I'm gonna make.
To say it was more stressful than I ever imagined is like saying nothing.
So my project just got crashed and I can't even open the game right now.
I just submitted the wrong game.
So the game jam has just started. The theme for this year is roles reversed and we have 48 hours to submit the game. Yeah, kinda challenging for the first game jam. And while I'm trying to come up with an idea for the game, let me briefly recap what a game jam is. You get a theme and a limited amount of time to finish and submit your game. And while it seems like a somewhat doable task, for me that was a huge fear of being constrained in limited time period. And because of that, I never even attempted to join a game jam before. See, I always take my time to perfect every single detail in my projects, because I can't leave them unfinished and also I have the time to do that.
Unlike now.
I started writing down ideas and as any other game dev I wanted one thing, to come up with something unique that others would not think of. The first thoughts like making an NBA game but you are the sweat were the most obvious ones, so I put them aside and spent 2 hours brainstorming, after which I ended up with this one. What if instead of you being the player in the game, you would be the game yourself? Here's what I mean. There is a term in game development called dynamic difficulty adjustment, where the difficulty of the game automatically changes according to the situation. Like when you're one hit away from death and you somehow manage to take down all the enemies without getting a single hit. You might think that was your skill, but probably that was the adjustment that made the enemies miss the shots. So in my game, you will be the mysterious guard of the player, protecting him from deadly bullets. I opened the new Unity project and started making the player that would be controlled by a real player and saving the player in the game from the game itself. Welcome the ghost and the player. After a couple of hours, we have the ghost that we can control with our mouse and the player that is currently doing nothing other than stopping bullets with his forehead. The next thing to add was the ability for the ghost to control the gravity and change the trajectory of the bullets. This may sound stupid, but hear me out. Have you seen a ghost that cannot control the gravity? Exactly. So the skill is done. I also made some particles to indicate that the gravity is pulling towards the ghost, and I'm really starting to believe that the idea might lead to a fun gameplay. Except for one problem. The bullets are very fast, and if my math is correct, the average gamer's reaction would not be enough to react to all incoming bullets. I understand, okay, you cannot play on the same level as I do. I'll make the game easier. I'm sick of people complaining that my games are hard. So I added another skill to the ghost, which allows him to temporarily enter a slow motion mode, giving the player more time to react to the bullets and also more time for you to leave a like under this video. No, really, likes help a lot to promote the video, so I would really appreciate if you do. And I'll have to admit, this looks way cooler in slow motion and suits better to the idea that the player should not notice the sudden change in trajectory of the bullets.
It's currently 3 AM. I've been making the game for 6 hours already. I'm feeling a bit safe as I managed to make so many things on my first day, but we still have lots of cool things to add. So I'm gonna go get some sleep and continue in the morning.
The next day I started with making the level for the game. I have very little experience on making 2D levels and I was also aiming for an endless platformer, so I started experimenting with 2D platform generation. The word experimenting actually can be easily replaced by throwing a couple of hours into garbage, cause that's exactly what I did before starting to actually use my brain and find a tutorial on level generation by CodeMonkey. Once again CodeMonkey saves my ass from failing a project. It's becoming a tradition at this point. After around 3 hours we have different types of platforms that randomly spawn one after another, making an endless map. Alright, let's hit the play and... yeah, the player still just stops the bullets with his forehead. It's time for an advanced AI that will run and precisely jump over the holes between platforms, and yeah boy accidentally happens to be the winner of an AI World Cup, so that shouldn't be a hard task to... The AI is still pretty dumb, but it seems to do an okay job for now. I also made the camera to zoom out when the ghost is far from the player, to see more of what's happening on the map. So currently there is no way to actually die, and also the bullets are being shot from another dimension, and that's what I'm going to work on next. I made a simple sprite of a gun, attached it to the platform prefabs, and now we have shooting guns throughout the level. I tried to make them more accurate by trying to take into account the player's velocity, but after spending more time on that than needed, I gave up, and that was basically what I managed to do on day 2.
So I just finished making the guns. I'm now feeling the pressure, which I hate. The game is still not playable and I have to finish the whole project by tomorrow. I'll have around 11 hours when I wake up, and honestly, I don't know if I'll be able to finish the game by that time.
It's the last day of the jam and I started my day with working on the UI elements. I finally made the score and health system so the player can actually die, and also made the game over UI. This is the part I was most scared of, as the deadline was so close and the game was not playable. And to make things even worse, my project got crashed when I was trying to add the leaderboard to the game.
So my project just got crashed and I can even open the game right now. I found the error. It was the Unity package that came with the leaderboard, but for some reason it still doesn't work, and I think I'll have to come back to it later if I have time.
With around 5 hours left, I started to add the missing sound effects, but I also wanted to add one more mechanic to the game besides dodging the bullets. I ended up with an idea of bridges between platforms that will break if the player steps on a broken part of the bridge. So the ghost task is to hold the broken part while the player is passing it. I drew simple sprites of bridge parts and made the actual bridge in the game using hinge joints. After a little coding, the mechanic is finished and I feel like it really adds to the game. I wanted to give the player an option to regain health, so I added these chests from which the ghost can pick up health and drop them in front of the player. My idea was also to have a suspense bar in the game that you had to constantly monitor, otherwise the player would notice that the game is helping him, and that would be another way to lose the game. Like if you drop the hearts too close to the player, or if you change the trajectory of the bullets too much, that would increase the player's suspicion. Unfortunately, I didn't even attempt to make it as I had very little time left and was still struggling to finish the leaderboard.
I don't know, man, it just refuses to work and I don't have time fixing it. It's sad, but I think I'll have to remove it.
The good thing is though, the game loop is finished. This is not the most fun experience, but I like it. I spent my last hour on making the main menu for the game and preparing the page on Edge. And if you think all the worst parts are left behind, you are underestimating my stupidity, cause with only 5 minutes left on the clock, Yaboy submitted the wrong project instead of the one we just made.
I just submitted the wrong game.
And I didn't even know if I could submit one more project. To make things even worse, I forgot to make the page public so I can submit it to the jam. And I had less than a minute before the deadline when I finally realized what the problem was. To say I shit my pants during the last minutes would be an oversimplification. Fortunately, I managed to fix everything and submitted the game on time. After 48 hours of stress, I can finally sit back and just do nothing. I don't know if I'll participate in another game jam, but if you really want me to, make sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching the video, and see you in the next one.